2 weeks from today will be New Year's Eve. And we are embarking on 21 days of prayer and fasting and worship together. And let me just say a word about that. We're calling this the Awakening. We'll be using the book by Stovall Weems that is a very coherent and clear guide of how you fast. When I was taking a couple of days back in August, I spent about 3 days in constant prayer with the Lord, pretty much out of my schedule and just spending time with the Lord. And when I spent that time, there were a couple of things that just were very clear to me in that time of prayer, is that this congregation had responded so spiritually to the Draw the Circle, the prayer time we spent back in Lent, the 40 days where we drew the circle. You may remember as we circled around in the sanctuary during that time as we ended each Sunday. And many people experienced just a deeper level of prayer during that time. And Mark Batterson, in his book, you might remember, said that when we pray and fast, it's like being in an airport terminal where you're walking on one of those conveyors where you're actually walking faster. And praying is always good, but when we put prayer and fasting together, you have something even stronger. And so, as I was spending those days in August, there was a vision that just day by day started revealing itself to me, that Shalimar United Methodist Church would be primed for a time of not just prayer, but a time of prayer and fasting. And to just come to the congregation and say, we're going to pray and fast this week. You know, we're mainline Protestant denomination. That's like moving on the interstate and going 70 miles an hour all at once. So we needed a progression. So one step that seemed to come to me was to seek about 40 people in the congregation that would go through this experience in the fall. And we have done that. And we had about 40. And so that was a very good experience. I met a person in our congregation, Dallas Gray, who's here this morning. And he had shared with me during that same time that he had been praying. And the Lord presented to him that something good was coming to Shalimar. And he recognized it when I shared about the fasting. So some wonderful energy coming together. And now we're ready to move into the new year, which is only 2 weeks away, with 21 days of worship. And I hope you'll come to be a part of our worship each day. The 8 o'clock crowd, that's not a whole lot earlier than you're accustomed to. To come and to worship in what should be one of the most unique times in Shalimar history. And we're not doing it for the history, we're doing it for what God is going to lay on our heart, the awakening, moving into 2018. So if you want to know more about this, the book by Stovall Weems is available, and there's a guide in there of how to fast. And by the way, fasting in the Old Testament was about sackcloth and ashes. Fasting, more in the New Testament way, is about just making room in our life for God. It's taking something out of our life that may be distracting us so that more room for God can be experienced. And that's what we'll be seeking to do beginning 2018. Taking something out of our life, there's various ways you can fast, and opening our life so God can come to us in a deeper way and awaken us. I hope you'll be in prayer about being a part of this awakening, the first 21 days of 2018.